Hey y'all, it's Surviving Darkness with Heather and Jenny. This is just a continuation of the previous podcast. I just want to give a heads up that this one was pretty intense. So it's just a little bit more emotional than the previous ones.
I just happened to think of something. Sorry.
But back to you, Jess.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
you're
happened
fine.
to
I was
think
done
of
with that
something
anyway.
because so you say that like when you would come to my house and stay, or when you would go to your other grandmother's house and stay, you never felt anything, or if like at my house you didn't feel anything. At her house, if you did, you knew like she was in the other room. Yeah. Yes. So when you go, like I know that you can sense it if you go anywhere, period. Mm-hmm. But were there places that you went that you could feel things or sense things or see things a lot more so than other places? Mm-hmm. And why do you think that was?
A lot of times whenever you see a lot of things, it's kind of secluded areas. I feel like people snuck out and did rituals in these places.
Okay.
Or...
There were portals?
Yeah. Like in those backwoods, there's one. And there just happens to be a big flat piece of land. Like it goes up over a hump and there's just a flat part of land up there. And it's like too coincidental that it's right on that.
And that's so strange that you know about that too.
I'm like, in these woods?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the other person said too.
Right. That's why I was getting ready to say. That's why I was like, in these woods?
We just had another lady that came over
and said that
the one that passed away?
Yes, said that there were portals out there.
Yeah, there's more than one.
Yeah.
I know the one's right there, but there's a couple more back there, and I don't know what causes them. But that would be my assumption. I've never been around a Ouija board being used, but I assume it creates one. Some of them seem a bit more scary, so some of them might be used for other things. I remember that one back there because it's a pretty big one. I wouldn't be surprised if you dug that up and found bones of a human or something under it.
Wow.
But I took your Jeep across a mountain. I can't remember what it was. But there was like this off place and there was just a baby doll hanging from a tree. Mm-hmm. And you could see things there, and I was like, well, someone made a sacrifice or like sacrifice. I mean,
right, yeah.
Whether it's a real thing or not, I don't know, but...
Or a ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be a ritual. It could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't shock me. But how often do you see baby dolls hanging from trees on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
I didn't have cell service or anything up there.
And like the normal people like us are not going to hang that up. You know what I mean? But people with weird intentions or something like that would do that.
That's wild because when we lived at the first house and you all were real little, I had a baby doll stuck behind my back tire of my car. And it was an old-timey looking baby doll. Don't know where it came from. Mm-hmm. Randomly behind the tire of my car.
Then you had
no.
Did it have eyes?
Yes. It was the plastic. It was like the painted on eyes to the face. And it didn't have hair, but it had like the wave in the plastic like it could have been hair.
What I saw in the woods was a little different. This one was almost as if the baby doll had hair and someone just ripped it off.
I don't think.
And the eyes were painted completely black. Like, they looked like had once had color, but they didn't now.
No, you had something else at the front of your house too, didn't you? Like at the corner closest to the driveway at the front of the house, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Another toy, a weird toy or something like that at the front of the house?
Maybe.
Because it wasn't too long either before or too long after.
And we thought it was the neighbor because he was a little weird.
Right.
But that's just odd that it's a baby doll behind my tire. Mm-hmm. And then he sees a baby doll hanging. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's the symbolism of a baby doll?
We'll have to figure that out.
Maybe. But I feel like that might just be a common, like, ritual thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And something that's
representation,
creepy. You know what I mean?
a representation of a baby and not actually a baby.
Who wants to throw it away in their own trash can? Who wants to put it at their own house?
True.
It might just be coincidental.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably try and burn it, but burning those things don't always work.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You can burn a Ouija board and it'll scream at you if it's been used.
Yeah.
And it won't burn.
No,
know?
it won't.
Saying you're
It'll
not going to
just
shut,
scream.
you've just gotten rid of the portal and you didn't get rid of the spirits that came out of it.
No. So now, you say that you still see things, you still sense things, you still have nightmares, things like that, you know?
I wouldn't say as much as I used to, but yeah.
Because you've learned, and plus you can, I don't want to say you confront it, but you kind of do, because you're just like, hey, that's enough, you know, right? Isn't that what you've said?
Yeah, for the most part. Most times I just ignore it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not dealing with you right now.
Right.
And I feel like part of the reason it doesn't bother me is I am staying with my girlfriend, who I am defensive of.
Right.
It probably doesn't want to make someone too upset that is defensive about something when it has a lot of family that has firepower against it and might have access to a name or something in a near future. It probably doesn't really want to make me mad.
Right.
Not that I really care, but I feel like that might be part of it. But at her house, I'd seen stuff too while we were cleaning it out. Something scratched my leg. It's not there anymore. But the person who lived in that house before assaulted his children, they were adopted, I'm pretty sure. And we found like masks upstairs that were just scary. We saw one that was like reflective, like chrome with sharp teeth, and it had like the black like mesh that went all the way down. And then we had ones like at Mom's church, they used to do like these dance things or whatever, and the demons would have these masks on like in the plays, and there was a few of those upstairs too. So I saw those and instantly thought about that.
Like him using those as torture devices, basically.
Scare tactics.
And these were little children. All the doors in that house have the holes, and the holes where locks were, like the slide locks you put on the gate on the outside of the doors, so the children could be locked in these rooms. But I don't sense anything there anymore. They hear things upstairs sometimes when I'm not there, because that's where her dad stays. And that's where the masks and everything were. That's why we never went up there. He's fine with it up there. But they hear things up there every once in a while. And a couple of the kids stayed up there. So me and my girlfriend stay in the room that he was in. And it's just odd. But don't sense things much. So.
And when you do, are you able to kind of shut it out, or I guess how do you handle it? Like is there, how do I say this? Is there like a light being that bothers you? You know, like on a spectrum of like, you know, a ghost, you know, I'm not saying it's a ghost, but what I'm saying is like just a ooh, or to versus like something completely evil.
There
like
is,
how do you
different.
And how do you deal with that, the differences?
Well, first off, I tell what the difference is between like the levels. Normally rate them like 1 through a 7. I don't know why. That's just what my brain does.
Okay.
So 7 being the worst, being the worst, and a 1 being not too bad. Most of them are around a 2 or a 3. Every once in a while there's a 7. And you can normally tell by how heavy the presence is, because whenever it's a 7, you feel like you can't breathe.
Okay, yes.
Most things are like 2s, 3s. Sometimes you get 1s. Like if I go to a cemetery, I'll sense a lot of things. But they're 1s.
We'll say just like a natural being or something like that.
I think a lot of that is they're not after me, so they're not going to seem bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're at cemeteries because they're not actually the people that are buried, but like spirits that are waiting on the people they want to attach to come visit the grave. I feel like they're kind of just waiting on you to come see your loved one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's part of the reason I don't go to cemeteries. I don't want to bother those things.
Right.
I mean, they don't really attach to people other than who they're looking for.
Okay.
But like we were saying earlier, they work together. So I don't really like to risk it. A lot of 1s become 7s real quick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
So.
Yeah. And there's things that can present themselves as a 1.
Yes.
And put up the falsehood that it's a 1 when it's actually a 7.
Which I'm pretty good at being able to tell. Not always. Sometimes.
Well, because you've had so much experience with it.
But as far as like shutting it out, no, I can't. I mean, they'll try and talk to me every once in a while. I can shut that out. I can just be like, no, I'm not talking to you. But if there's something there, I just feel it. It's just kind of like a sixth sense almost.
When you say they're trying to talk to you, what are they trying to say?
They say handfuls of other things. Like the one time I was out here in the driveway and I had that vision of being in the closet in this next room over. And there was a figure across the closet from me. We're sitting in the floor of that closet. And there's some African American dude talking to you and telling you to do like kind of weird poses and stuff. I don't know if it actually happened here or where. This is before you told me anything about this. And that's kind of what caused you to be like, maybe I should, as far as I understand. Because after that is when you started talking about it. At least with us. But it just kind of had that goat head. And then I look down and there's one coming towards me and I snap out of it. Almost as if I'm putting on a helmet.
Okay.
That is one. And I'm like, nope, I'm done. But yeah, there was someone talking to, I think it was her. It could have not been. But the door wasn't opened all the way. It was cracked. It was not a very big dude. But I was also in the floor. It's really hard to tell height when you're like
it is
sitting in the floor or you're a little kid. So that was one of the main times. And sometimes they talk to me out loud. And that same friend I was talking about earlier heard it once at the big house down the road. We were sitting there and we just got on our phones. I mean, we're teenagers. That happens. And I look up and I respond because I thought that it was like mom or someone. I mean, she doesn't have a deep voice, but if she's upset, sometimes she talks assertively.
Right,
it's like,
right.
But it was like it also could have been my brother because he was a teenager. His voice cracked.
Right.
What? So it was like in that in-between stage. And I just kind of responded to it. And he just looks at me and he's like, why did you just respond to that? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, that wasn't English. And I was like, what are you talking about? And anyways, we look up in like Google Translate. You can go through and put like English and then go through and swipe through. And I forget what language it was, but it was a language that hasn't been used in like thousands of years. Almost like Old English, but not. It might have been Latin, but I don't think it's Latin. I think Latin is too normal for them to use. If it was Latin, I feel like I would have remembered it was Latin, but it was a different old language that hasn't been used in forever.
Almost like in biblical times.
Yeah.
But it's actually spoke English.
Yeah.
It wasn't a total different language, but it was the thuses and thous and the words like that. And then it would be like, well, let me try to think of the words you all use. And it was like, it was trying to think of the word to say to us. And I'm like, this is just weird. I mean, it was weird anyway, because it was a demonic presence. But the fact that it's looking at you saying, oh, what's the word y'all use? I don't know. You're the one doing the talking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that they normally talk like that. Almost like biblical. Like
Yeah. And it's just weird.
It's almost like they talk in the 10 Commandments.
Exactly. They do. And it's a booming, like a loud, like a booming,
you almost
growly,
feel it in your body.
yes, a growly voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a low, growly, like voice, and it does use weird language. I mean, it's English. I don't know what language it usually uses when it looks at you and says, "What's the word that you all use?" And I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say, so I can't help you out, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
And nor do I want to help you out. I really don't want to be talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, you want to be like, you figure it out.
Yeah,
you know?
this is
You
your
don't-
conversation. I just want to see my way out.
But you wouldn't say that, you know,
Right.
we're too scared to. And
Right,
You're
and you're like standing as still as possible. Maybe if I don't move, it won't realize I'm still standing here.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never in its form. It was in someone.
Right.
Yeah, I normally don't see it in people.
You see the
much.
real form.
Yeah. One of the ones that was over there a lot that I only saw there, it was almost like a plague mask. How they have those long
Yeah,
like,
yes.
noses.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yes.
Yeah. But it was like not necessarily skin. It was
I
almost like
just-
an elephant trunk where it has like little
Yeah,
ripples on
uh-huh.
it.
I think it's odd that I had not seen anything, and that's what I kept saying. I don't see anything. It's anytime anything's ever really happened, it's been in somebody or something, and then I see something. Just a couple weeks ago, and it's just weird to me. And it was just a couple of seconds. It looked like a man walking through the study door, and I'm like, literally through the door, and it was like 3-4 seconds, and I'm like, did I really see something? But how do you make out a man with no shirt on? I mean, an obvious man with no shirt on, if you didn't see something that looked like a man with no shirt on. I mean, I didn't say, oh, he had a flannel shirt, he had a red shirt, he had a blue shirt. It was a man with no shirt on, period. In just a couple seconds, and as if he was like in a day, in like a sleepwalking state, just like 2 or 3 steps, and he was through the door and gone. And I'm like, kept looking. I was like, did I just imagine something? But in my head, I cannot imagine and be descriptive as to what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
If it was an imagination, I saw something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I tried to tell myself maybe you just saw something. Maybe that's not what you saw, but I mean, I couldn't be that descriptive if I didn't actually see something.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all ever had it talk to you, but not like actually talk to you? Like, you know, whenever you pray and you kind of hear.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
because
have
that's why I
Yeah.
said that I had to get out of the house that time, that we were getting the stuff out of the basement, and your brother and his friend were down there, and it was telling me to grab
Yeah.
this board and knock them upside the head.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I think such a thing? This is my son and his. They're teenagers. They're not doing anything that should have even made
Yeah.
that cross my mind. So yes,
That's
yes.
how they talk to me.
And when I said, before that, when that figure,
Mhm.
I don't remember seeing it when it told me to cover my head up and count to 10, and I can't tell you that I saw its mouth moving to specifically talk to
Yeah.
me, because I don't remember ever seeing it. And I really truly can't tell you. I can say Dad was not in the room at that time.
Yeah.
But I don't remember how it initiated telling me to pull the cover up over my head. I don't
Yeah.
remember that. I just know that it said, pull the
That
cover
is
up over your
odd,
head
too.
and count to 10 before you pull that off of your head.
Yeah.
And then when I did, and that's what I'm saying, like, I don't know, it could have been that same thing. It could have just been telling me in my head. But I know that it was talking to me because I did what it said. And then when I pulled the cover, that's when I saw it floating,
Mhm.
Hovering across the living room from the back.
So our cousin was here and was talking about, you told her to cover her head
Mm-hmm.
with the sheet. Did it tell you to tell her? Or did you think
She
it?
wasn't there at that time.
No, I'm saying this was a separate time. But do you think that it was telling you for you all to tell her for y'all to cover your heads? Was it the same, like it talking to you then? Do you remember that happening?
I remember, and like I said, I think she got mixed up on the house.
Okay.
because I do believe it was the one where everything started with me, because I remember us laying in the living room floor on the mattress,
Okay.
which is the same house that this talked to me and told me to cover my head and everything.
It's just weird that there's two different circumstances and it's both.
And so I do believe, because I told her, I said, just cover your head. Don't look at it. She said that's what I said to her.
Right.
And so, yes, I'm sure that it probably could have said.
Yeah, because how would you have known?
Intuition.
Intuition
if it happens
just kicking
enough
in?
at a certain time, she might just know.
Just cover your head.
Yeah, because I know that the time that I saw it from behind as it was walking away,
Right.
that it definitely said that to me.
Right.
I don't remember telling her to cover her head. I do remember when we were laying in the living room floor, you know. So
in both houses, the bedroom was off from the living room. Mom and Dad's bedroom was off from the living room in both houses.
Yeah. And it was kind of a weird layout on both of the houses, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. And so, yes, it could have said that to me again, you know, but I don't remember hearing the voice like I
think
definitely
that
heard.
Both times, though, I mean, it said cover your head, but both times it wanted someone to see it.
Yeah, because it made its presence known to her.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like, well, I tried to protect you from it.
And I
But
know
you
good and
looked.
well that, you know, if something scares you enough and tells you, you cover your head for 10 seconds, you're going to hold it for like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like you just are.
Right.
And when I pulled the blanket back down, the sheet back down, it was still.
It's those games.
It is. It was still like 5 feet from me. That
See,
was
I would have been scared.
leaving, you know?
I would have been scared to even cover my head because I wouldn't be able to see what it was doing. That's me. I just
and
would
I
have been
can't
scared.
remember what it said. I just remember it saying, "I'm going to go." Like something like I'm going to go out, but you cover your head, count to 10.
Right.
You know, and then
So
like
both
you
times
say,
it was one of those, it was a game.
it was.
It was just a game.
Like I
Yeah.
still remember the sheet that I covered up with. It was the yellow sheet that had the black and white circles on them.
Yeah.
Like that still vividly sticks in my mind. And the couch was over at that time in front of the on the side where the front door was. You know, we'd move the couch, we'd move stuff around, but that's where the couch was. Like I vividly remember all of that. So,
has it ever offered y'all anything?
Like,
we talk about the thing. Oh, I said his name. I mean, he's dead. He's not gonna be upset about it, but I'll clip it anyways.
yeah, it doesn't. I was gonna say it really doesn't matter. But
what do you mean by offered?
Has it ever said that it can do something for you in exchange for something?
Well, we could live as long as it did what it said.
I don't.
I think that
I mean, it was kind of like you will do this, or this will be your consequence, but not
the thing that I think, what I feel like you're saying, and it did sort of. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to word it. It supposedly was obsessed with me for whatever reason, is supposedly what I was told. And it was almost like I could make everybody want you. And I wasn't a popular person. I was not popular. I was quiet. I could make everybody want you.
So it did offer that to you if you wanted to do whatever it wanted you to do.
Right. And I hadn't thought of it that way, but yes, it sort of tried to put in my head that, you know, working with it, I could have all kinds of power over people. I could do this and I could be way up here. And being a shy person, sort of, I mean, that's sort of like, hey, I could actually be popular sometime in my lifetime. But I had enough in me to know.
Right.
No, I don't want what you're offering, because I wasn't comfortable in the stuff that we were forced to do, the clothes we were forced to wear. And that's how it would have done it. It would have pretty much had me looking like a floozy all the time. And that would be the power that I would have. And
acting that way.
Yes. And that would be the power it was offering. Not anything that was constructive, but everything destructive. So yeah, I guess so. I guess you can say that it did do that.
Did you ever have anything like that?
Not that I remember. No. You?
3
Obviously.
separate occasions. It doesn't necessarily like tell me what it wants, but it tells me what it'll give me. First time Dad got sick with cancer, and it was like, I can fix it. And it was like, all you got to do is make a deal with me. And I said no. I was like, that's not what he'd want me to do. And I prayed, and it went away.
Right.
Another time, it was before I got a car, and it was like, you need all this stuff. I was stressed about college and everything. It was like, I'll give you money. How much you want? You just gotta make a deal with me. I'm like, nope. The most recent time it happened was before she had her surgery. And it was saying that things wouldn't go okay if I didn't. It went just fine, and I didn't.
So that's why you were staying so close and so worried.
That's why I was in your room every day. As soon as the day started, I took Maddie to work and would come there with you. And that's why before you even had your surgery and you were worried about the money, I was like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It was a few days before that. And I don't like talking about it because it's weird.
Yeah.
And even now, my voice is a little shaky because of it. And it is a very deep, ominous voice that is like, we can make a deal. We can make things happen. And I'm like, nope, not happening.
No.
Well, thank God that you have that knowledge to not be, manipulated into thinking that you should do that. I don't know why it would
think that I would. And I
because
don't know
that's how
what
it does.
Is.
Because you have a gift. You have a gift of discernment. You can feel the spirits. You know what's good. You know what's bad. And it wants to take that gift away from you. Because if you walk in the full power of that gift in a godly way, you
can fight off.
You are a big threat to what the enemy has in store.
I don't know what it wants. I never go past the initial stage.
It wants you.
Yeah,
it wants you.
It wants your gift that was given from God to use in His way.
Yeah.
And I don't go any further because I don't want to entertain it. I want it to know that I'm not making a deal no matter what.
And that's great.
I don't care what you want. You can want me to laugh for you, and I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not working with something like that. When it was talking about Dad and all that, I was like, that's not what he'd want.
Right, exactly.
That's not what my mom would want. That's not what I want.
No.
Nothing is worth that because good chance you do anything like that, you burn in hell for eternity.
But the thing is it doesn't really have the power. It's offering things that it doesn't have the power to do.
But people don't know that.
Right.
So it offers, he knows. He has the knowledge and the mind capacity to know, no, I cannot do this and I will not do this. But not everybody has that.
I was telling you, you'd be fine because I was trying to tell me you'd be fine.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes you have to lie to yourself too, even though you're scared.
Right.
Sorry about that. We have idiots on this road.
That's probably her son.
Well, that's okay. Like I said, we have idiots on this road.
Yeah, he has his moments.
Well, his stuff is paused right now because he needs to charge his phone. Okay. On my phone, it says he needs to charge his phone and it's paused.
Yeah, so I figured I'd see if y'all ever had anything.
It was more like that. It was, I can offer you popularity and this, that, and the other. But
if it did, I don't remember anything like that. Did it ever
tell you what it wanted in return?
No.
I don't think it ever does. I think it just kind of wants you to say okay without it telling you what it is. I feel like a good...
entertain it.
A good business deal.
Yeah, like
or telling someone what they'll give you up front or something.
It wants you to entertain what it's saying and be like,
Yeah.
well, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? And so it's starting to draw you in.
Well, the things that I was told, I feel like this could be like 2 or 3 episodes in one. But the things that I was told was like it was in love with me, which now that I'm older does not make sense because evil don't know love.
Right.
For one, that it was obsessed with me, that it wanted me to be its wife. What? How? How do you even do anything like that? Make a covenant with it, a vow? It was like, and it was, that's the things that I was told, not by it, but by Dad, were those things. But then it would put in my mind about the power and we could work together and all of this and all of that. I just almost felt like it was trying to take over like me or something. Were you told anything like that? Just the look on your face, I'm just wondering, were you told stuff like that too?
My heart's going crazy right now because I wasn't told that it was obsessed with me. I wasn't told like that, but I was told that you could have kids, like, to make things happen. You know what I mean? Like, not be married, but there could be things that could happen as like husband and wife with this thing and me, you know, like.
And if you got pregnant, it's hard to tell what it would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but not just if I got pregnant. It was like, I would like for you to get pregnant. Like when this thing was talking, it was like I would like for this to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Sickening. Like, what could it be if it was you and this? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That being, and then also that being said to me by
Right.
Dad.
Right.
So I didn't remember any of that. None of that until anyway.
Yeah, that was
very odd.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
It is. I'm like, I thought you was doing the talking today.
Hey,
but
by the
yeah.
way, something just blew on my arm. Like
You
just
too?
asked me a second ago. Yeah,
Yes.
almost as someone went.
Exactly.
Against my arm.
That's why I was doing that. I was
That's why I
like, somebody
just
just
did
blew
that.
on my arm,
I
and
thought
that's
Mama
why
Cat
I
rubbed
looked at
against me.
looked at him, and I was like, did you just blow on my arm? But yeah, it was things like that that it used, and we were young, so it was almost like it was trying to play on popularity, play on power, trying to offer those things. And I don't know why, because it was already forcing us to do everything that it wanted. I don't know, unless because there was no emotional and spiritual tie to it. It was a physical, forced tie to it. We submitted to what it was forcing us to do, but we never submitted ourselves to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We still held on to who we were, and we were not going to let that go.
It's so strange to me how it talked about like you being its bride, you know what I mean? And then with it saying, you know, what I just said, and we still had no idea what the other person was going through, you know?
Right.
Like, it makes me wonder what was said to Mom. Like, was it trying to make like a whole family? You know what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It just, I don't know. I don't know what to think right now. I
I'm just overwhelmed with everything right this second.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And just one question can bring up so much that we hadn't even thought about. Because I've never really thought about all that, because to me that was just so mundane. It just wasn't important.
I just don't know what could come from that. What would happen if what it wanted to happen?
It's a submission. It's a total submission, and we never totally submitted. I mean, even little things like I held on to, I'm not kissing you. And that was a big thing. It would aggravate me all the time to participate that way. To me, I could lay there and you could do whatever, and I didn't have to participate. But to kiss
while it was in Grandpa or on its own?
Yeah.
In him, other people,
gotcha.
all of that. And I was like, no. And it would try, and I would turn my head. I was like, no, because I felt like that was something I had to participate in.
And it was just the breath, the beer, it was just, you were just really.
And to me, that was the only control I had was, I'm not going to do that because I have to actively participate in that. The rest I can just lay here.
Yeah.
I can fake.
Anything ever happen here? Or was that all at the old house?
Everywhere.
Wow.
That 4 houses.
Yeah. There.
It started for me. Yeah. It started for me the first on out the road.
There for a while.
Yeah. In 4 houses.
I wasn't sure if things happened here or not.
Can we cut this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't. Unless you want to continue to talk about me, like.
Yeah, that's good. You okay? Sure.
We'll finish up with today's episode and try to regroup, and we may touch back on this later on when all 3 can actually discuss it.
There's a lot of stuff coming up that will
is
have to be talked about more.
In more detail later on.
I think for everybody.
Right.
There's a lot of like silence, and every time someone stops talking, there's a long pause because everybody's trying to take everything in. You are witnessing all this stuff happen in real time, that they especially are remembering this stuff. And it's kind of how trauma works.
Right.
Things get dug up over time. So
yeah, it's heavy right now.
We'll touch back on this topic at a different time. I think that's probably for the best for everybody.
Right. Well, you all have a good week.